Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Smith. I'm the head of business development at Netcapital. Let's give everyone a few minutes here to get settled in.
Get some music playing, Tom, just to create some vibes.
Right? Just like a wedding, then, yeah.
Yeah, we need the entry music to as people come in.
All right. Give everyone a few more moments here. All right, we do have a few items to run through. So before we get started, I wanted to touch upon those few housekeeping items. As with all of our companies we host, our webinars, but Loverly is actively fundraising on Netcapital right now. You can invest in Loverly by visiting netcapital.com and searching Loverly if you are interested. For those who are viewing live, I'm going to drop the investment link into our chat right now. Next, I want to mention that we do want this webinar to be as interactive as possible. So please, when asking questions, use the Q&A and not the chat that I dropped Lovely's investment link in to interact with us, and we will answer your questions, and as many of them the best we can. Now, I know there are some investors that are joining that have previously invested in Lovely that are looking to hear from Kelly herself, but we have many who have not invested yet. We will do our best to cover both sides of the aisle, and with that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce founder and CEO of Lovely, Kelly Khalil. Kelly, how are you today?
I'm great, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. And hello, everyone who's joined. Excited to share more about our company, our brand, and our mission to make wedding planning easier and more fun.
No, thanks so much, Kelly. I know your schedule is crazy busy, so we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today and with everyone who is tuned in and those who will be listening in the future. And so to kick things off, Kelly, one of my favorite things about you is your entrepreneurial spirit. So can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background, and then back that into how you came up with the idea of Lovely?
Absolutely. So I actually studied entrepreneurship in college. I went to University of Southern California. I don't want to say when, it's been quite a while, but it was one of the best entrepreneurship schools in the country and one of the first. And so I always knew from a very young age that I wanted to start a business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father came here in the 70s from Lebanon. And so I'm first generation, and I'm one of 5 kids, and all 5 of us are entrepreneurs. So it truly is in our DNA. When I got out of school, I actually started my career in finance, helping companies, ironically, acquire capital, all asset-based lending. So during that 5-year tenure, I really understood, I really got an opportunity to look at different businesses to see how they operated, see what businesses did well and didn't do well, understood cash flow and all of these kind of different business models, which was really incredible. When I decided to step away from that, I wasn't quite sure yet what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to start a company, but I wasn't quite sure yet in what industry. And ironically, at the time, my sister had just got engaged, and she was running her own business, which is a lifestyle PR firm focused on the wedding industry. So that's how I really got into the wedding category. And I really learned firsthand, one, how painful wedding planning is, right? As assisting my sister, as somebody who wasn't even getting married, I was like, this is way too complicated. And so in working with her, my focus was always on storytelling, brand building. I realized that in an industry where it's all about emotion and love, it was super important for your customers to connect with your brand. And so that was really where I kind of got my experience in brand building, communication, and also the wedding industry. I then went on to start a brand and creative agency, which I ran for a number of years. And at that agency, I actually worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, doing marketing, brand acquisition for companies like Microsoft was a big customer of ours. We did a lot of creative consulting for M&M's, Mars. So it kind of ran the gambit of different businesses, as well as startups, clean energy companies. So a number of different businesses. But at the end of the day, the thing that drew me back into weddings was that it is a massive, massive industry, $55 billion domestically, controlled by a finite group that it's people getting married. And there's about usually 2.1 million weddings a year. We have a slightly bigger audience this year and next year. And so I knew, with wedding planning being so complicated, having such a defined user base and a massive industry, that if we could solve how difficult wedding planning was, we had a massive opportunity to monetize our customers along the way. And so Loverly was born with the mission, as I mentioned earlier, of making wedding planning easier and more fun. And now I'm a bride to be myself. So I recently got engaged. And so I'm going through this planning process as we're creating content, wedding planning tools. I really have a newfound empathy for the consumer. Things have gotten a lot easier, I can say, and we have a lot of great tools that help facilitate the wedding planning process. But there is still that emotional overwhelm that happens no matter how great your tools are. It's a simply emotional, exciting time in people's lives. And, I'm super excited to be in this industry and be a small part of people's big moments.
Oh, yeah, I think it's so great. And as you know, in full disclosure, I recently got engaged, and you are going to be helping my fiance and I move through this journey. So really love what you're doing. So Kelly, just 30,000 feet, brief overview. Great context on how you founded Lovely, and then just baseline, but can you just provide a little bit more overview on the company?
Sure. So Loverly is a digital destination for modern couples who are planning their wedding. Our goal is to be the day one planner. So the moment you get engaged, you come to Loverly and we help set you up for wedding planning success. How do we do that? We offer couples free wedding planning tools. Our hero product is an interactive, personalized wedding planning checklist. So it lists all of your to-dos that you need to do with due dates. You can assign it to your partner to really help you stay organized, because that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes from, is not knowing where to start. Another one of our tools that we have is a guest list manager. So I literally just did this for my engagement party. I texted 85 of my closest friends a link saying, can you give me your contact information? And in 30 minutes, I had mailing addresses for all of my friends, so I could easily export that and send that to my printer. And that way I can track all my friends who are attending the events. We also have a tremendous amount of inspiration. So we have featured over 12,000 weddings over the past years, and all of those weddings are tagged and sortable by color, season, style, and location. So if you're just in your wedding planning journey and you don't know what your style is, you can take our style quiz, which then kind of helps you get the language of, oh, I'm bohemian or I'm modern. And we show you real couples' weddings to help you get inspired. You can then save those weddings and organize them. So that's kind of the suite of the inspiration. And we have over 2,000 articles that we've written over the years. So we have become an authority in wedding planning. 2015, we launched a wedding planning book, which is available in Barnes & Noble and Amazon, which was the top seller in the category. And then most recently, we launched a new product, a wedding planning masterclass. And so this really was based on the fact that I had this best-selling book. It's 200 pages. No matter how helpful our website is, anytime a friend of mine or an ex-coworker knew someone that got engaged, I would get a text message. Can you talk to this person? And I was like, this is, I'm happy to, but I can't do it over and over and over again. We have hundreds of people signing up for our website a day. Like, I can't talk to every single person. But what I can do is I can take the knowledge that I have and call in a couple of my friends. So pull together celebrity wedding planners, photographers, caterers, and essentially created this masterclass with short form video content so that people can get what feels like one-on-one advice, right? We're giving you the blueprint and we're guiding you through it, because the biggest part of the overwhelm is the not knowing, right? There's a huge learning curve. And so that's the suite of the Loverly universe as far as our planning, our editorial, and our tools. We really focus on premium content. We want to be the most trusted source that couples come to when they're looking for advice for their wedding day.
Oh, it's so great. And I've just seen the value with even just starting to go through it. And as you mentioned, you're engaged. So I think it's wonderful what you've created. And But I know even though you founded it and you're leading the company, it's just not you. So can you talk about your team? And I've had the privilege of meeting several of your team members, but I think it's important that folks know the team that's involved because it's quite an impressive group.
Sure. So one thing that I am really proud of is, our entire executive team is women. We're a company for women by women. And that's important because 92% of our audience is women, right? So women hold kind of the lion's share of the decision making during this planning process. So our executive team, we have Paige Britt, our COO. She has a background in agency and media. So she really focuses on all of our content production and our deep integrated partnerships with some of the brands like Bed Bath & Beyond and Minted. So she really brings in those partnerships and helps us with our production. She came from Beautiful Destinations, which is one of the largest travel brands online. I think they have the biggest following on Instagram. So that's her background. And then our head of brand marketing is Carly Johnson. She came from Create Cultivate, as well as Who What Where. So she really has a background in lifestyle events, as well as kind of women-focused brands. And then, of course, we have a whole team of, there's about 7 others on the content production, creative, social, email. But more importantly, we have an incredible development team. So we have 6 full-time engineers. I would say 6 full-time people on the engineering team. That includes our UI UX designer, our product lead, our CTO, and our supporting front end and back end engineers. And they're really the force behind building the technology, really working with me to take my vision and my understanding of what these customers want and really build it into a product roadmap and deliver that in a product experience that is delightful and easy to use for our customers.
That's awesome, Kelly. And having worked with Paige and a couple other members, I can attest that it is a top-notch team. You've done a great job with surrounding yourself with really talented people. Kelly, you touched upon a little bit, obviously, the problem that Loverly is looking to solve, right? Make wedding planning easier, but there's so much that goes into it. So can you get granular on the different problems and aspects of Loverly and how that could solve for, I know you said a large portion of your audience and customers are women, but couples in general, just get really granular on everything that you're doing, because it's so much more than just making it, like, it's literally A through Z. So if you could provide more context, that'd be great.
Yeah, so just to give some general context on the wedding planning industry. So only 30% of couples actually have the budget to hire a wedding planner. So a full-blown wedding planner starts at $3,500. That's like the national average. But to be honest, if you have a full service planner, you're probably spending closer to $10,000, right? And when you look at the average wedding budget for couples across America, it hovers around $30,000. Sometimes 28 goes up a little bit from there. So most couples cannot afford to hire a wedding planner. So what happens? They DIY, they do it themselves. And so you have couples spending, and primarily the bride, hundreds of hours researching. They're basically digging for, what do I do? Where do I start? Can I get a checklist? What's the day of ceremony look like? So they're spending hours researching just like how to plan at first. And then who do I hire, right? What do I ask them when I'm calling a photographer to hire them? Like, what questions do I ask them? So there's this massive learning curve that I mentioned. And so we really focused on that 70% of couples that essentially have been left behind, right? Because they don't have the budget to hire a planner, but they are spending still a lot of money. And so we really help guide them, when I say from yes to I do, through our editorial content and our video series and our free tools. Literally, we tell you, course 1, I just got engaged. Now what? All right. The first thing is, let's talk about the budget, right? You've got to set your wedding budget. Everything starts with the budget. And we break down, how do you talk to your partner about what you want to spend on the budget? How do you figure out what you need to spend? Well, are you in debt? Do you have student loans? How much have you saved? Who's contributing to the wedding, right? And all of those conversations. If someone is contributing to the wedding, right, what are the rules? Do they get to invite the entire guest list? Do they get to design the wedding? And so that's a very specific example of like how nuanced just the budget conversation is. And we essentially break all of that down for you. We give you the framework and the blueprint for you to be able to plan your wedding on your own. And we give you the information you need, right, to essentially empower you to make the decisions that you need to make with confidence. And the other thing that we do is we put it all in a timeline, right? So we keep you organized so that you can stay on track, because the reality is with wedding planning, some decisions need to be made before others. You can't book a venue if you haven't set your budget. You can't book a venue if you don't have a guest count. How many people are you inviting, right? And so we guide you through, those conversations. We provide you downloadable checklists, worksheets to do with your partner to help you. It's basically a full 360 wedding planning kit. So everything that you would need with interactive videos, editorial content, and inspiration along the way. And I did mention specifically, Tom, one of the tools that I think is most handy is something as simple as, it sounds like a simple thing, but when you're mailing out your invitations, like, you need mailing addresses, right? Most people nowadays don't have anyone's mailing addresses. We don't often send mail, right? And so one of our tools is a guest list manager, where you can text your friends a link and they can fill out a form. And now we use Google Places API. So we verify that it's a true mailing address, and it's all in your own dashboard. And you, of course, can download your contacts and email that to your stationery designer, or upload it to whatever printer that you're working with. So those are examples of some of the products that we have. If anyone here, we're in the thick of wedding season. Everyone here probably knows someone who's getting married, has probably paid for a wedding, or is anticipating paying for a wedding in the near future, whether it's their own wedding or one of their children. I recommend that you go sign up for a free account, play with the platform. We also send incredible content emails that really help guide you along the way as well. And really, that's why, Tom, we decided to do this Netcapital raise. Really, it was a brand marketing opportunity for us, because everyone knows someone who's getting married, who's in a wedding, who's going to a wedding, right? And so we want to have, an army of investors who really are true brand advocates for us, who can share, when they're at a wedding or they know someone getting married, like, hey, check out this site. I'm an investor, check it out, and hopefully be a small part of many people's special moments.
Yeah, Kelly, and I know that was really important when we started chatting early on with our thesis, right? Democratizing the access to, everyone who wants to invest in, the first couple of rounds of different companies, and as they grow and accelerate, and you being able to offer the investment opportunities to the customers or anyone who's passionate about this industry, or, to your point, anyone who's themselves are paying for a wedding, or maybe are contributing to their children's wedding. So I think it's great. And this is really caught wind in a lot of major publications. Kelly, you have been everywhere. I knew it before, or on our first call and before we went live, that you were an unbelievable marketer. But can you talk about whether it's Forbes or Damon John, who's invested in your company? Like, can you talk about everything that you have going on? Because I can't keep up with you.
You're so sweet. Well, part of my background being that I worked in public relations, I realized how important it is to be able to tell your story, right? And get your story out there and share that with your consumers wherever they may be. So we really do focus on media relations as a big way of building our brand, right? Whether that's in top tier publications like Forbes, which just did a profile on us. We had a recent feature in Adweek, which spoke in depth about our partnership with our pilot partnership with Bed Bath & Beyond. We had a write-up in a more kind of pop culture article called Stupid Dope that spoke about the Damon John investment. But we've been featured in probably every top tier publication. I also do a lot of television media, doing, on screen, on TV, live television, talking about wedding trends, the wedding industry, the wedding business. There's quite a bit, I will say, Tom, coming up in Q4, because October 15th kind of kicks off what we like to call engagement season. So from October 15th through Valentine's Day is where traditionally a bulk of engagements happen. People are coming together because of, the holidays. They're with their families for the first time. They're planning vacations. And we see a huge surge really in Q1, as far as like people, now they're engaged, they start planning. But Q4, new people getting engaged. And so we have quite a bit of media lined up over the coming weeks, specifically a lot of television, which will be great. So yeah, we've been featured quite a bit. I think right now it's timely though. Everyone's writing about weddings. Why? Because we are in a historic wedding season. There has not been this many weddings since 1984. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Business Insider. I mean, I feel like every single publication, Bloomberg, you turn on the TV, they're talking about this wedding boom. And why are we in a wedding boom? Well, we have the pandemic to thank for that, right? So 2020, 2021, 50% of weddings were either canceled, rescheduled, downsized. And so couples basically had to postpone their weddings. So we're seeing all the 2020, 2021 brides and grooms getting married now, right? But what we're also seeing is that there's no availability. So 72% of our couples who have signed up this year are not getting married in the 2022 calendar year. They're going into 2023 and 2024. I'm even seeing 2025 and 26 dates. Why is that? There's absolutely no availability. So the industry was basically shut down for 2 years, and now it's exploding. So I think that's another reason why, the media is very excited about this industry. I think they're expecting 2.6 million weddings. And I am going to be one of those weddings. Even though I got engaged in 2020, I haven't even set my date yet. I'm the worst wedding planner, the wedding planner that can't plan her own wedding, just too busy helping others.
Well, I can attest to that, Kelly, because you and I had a conversation and you thought I was crazy, but I did a reverse model because of how busy and the uptick that we're seeing. So before I got engaged, I booked the venue. Why? Because 3 weeks after that, everything was sold out in 2023 and I hadn't proposed yet. So I didn't want to be left.
First of all, I didn't think you were crazy. Let me clarify. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, wow, that's actually really smart because there is no availability. I was shocked that you knew to do that because that was a very, very genius move. I'm sure a lot of other people thought you were crazy for having the venue without the proposal. But the reality is people are doing things out of order right now, right? So when I first started the company, years back, the average age of couples in the US was 27 for the bride, 28 for the groom. It's now 31, 32. Yep. So that's a huge shift, right? So what's happening is couples are getting married later in life. They're doing things out of order. They might be buying a house first. They might be having a kid first, then getting married. So as kind of the landscape has changed as to what couples look like, their behavior has also significantly changed. And I think this kind of new generation, it's we're ready for ease. We're expecting transparency. We want things to be instant, digital now. And so I feel like all of those factors are really what has been helping propel Loverly's success forward. I know, Tom, I saw your engagement photos, which were very cute, and you're going to need to send them to me so we can put them on our Instagram. I want them for our engagement account because it's got the beautiful background with the boats. But that's one of the things that we do as well is we acquire customers very early in the funnel, even before they're engaged. We have an engagement ring account on Instagram called Bling Book, which has 100,000 followers, right? And people are going there for ideas and inspiration on proposals and where to get their ring and how to buy the ring. And then we have our main Loverly account, which almost has 700,000 followers on Instagram. And that's where we acquire a lot of our customers from.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out Loverly's account, it's just great content and it's relevant, it's fresh. You guys are constantly in your story and also keeping everything up to date. Just doing a really nice job with everything. And Kelly, I appreciate you saying that because you're right. I retract. You didn't think I was crazy.
Did not think you're crazy. That was brilliant.
It was more so when I brought it up to my parents that they were like, what? They didn't understand, but my parents are very traditional. But literally, again, 3 weeks later, the venue called me and said they have no more dates. And if you didn't do that, you'd be getting married in 2024. So just proof right here. And Kelly, I know you're in it, and though you haven't picked it, wedding season is crazy right now. And next year is going to be the craziest that we've ever seen. So Kelly, we're talking about, okay, this craziness, this madness. Let's get into how big of a market are we in and then kind of where we're going. in the next couple of years?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, traditionally there's about 2.1 million weddings happening every single year.
Yep.
And going into, and those weddings are responsible for about $55 billion in spend.
Mhm.
And that spend is super fragmented, right? There are, depending on the type of wedding you're having, you might be hiring 25 different vendors. Right. So think about it. If you go to a venue that has everything all in one, then maybe all you need to worry about is photographer, dress, maybe your DJ, right? And if you want a videographer, like you're set. But a lot of couples, do a backyard wedding. You got to bring everything in, right? And so that spend is fragmented or chopped up amongst a number of different small businesses. The bulk of the spend, right, is on the venue. It's on which is food, drink, the actual location. But a big concentration of that spend that's considered at 55 billion is the wedding registry. It's the wedding gifts. And so I think that is a huge segment of the market that has really evolved over time. And that's one of the things that we were really excited about this year, to pilot a partnership with one of the largest retailers. Now, I do understand that they've gone through a little bit of a bump in the road, Bed Bath & Beyond, for anyone who's following the company. But the leadership team that we're working with is really focused on driving innovation. They realize they've fallen a little bit behind. And so they see Loverly as a partner to help them innovate faster, to acquire customers earlier in the funnel, well before they would acquire them. And so I'm really bullish on, wedding registry, the category, as well as, continuing to have this conversation with Bed Bath, but also potentially opening the doors to other partners for our future years. Another big key category where the spend is in the wedding invitations and wedding stationery. And so we recently signed a partnership with Minted, which is one of the largest direct-to-consumer platforms that allows you to design and print all of your wedding invitations and all your wedding day signage. So I don't know if I answered your question. It's big. These are the two biggest categories that we focused on outside of our free tools. Next year, I think, like I said, it's going to be about 2.5 million weddings, projecting, a 20% increase on that 55 billion. So, what is that, 65 billion over the coming years. And so, yeah, it's massive.
No, it's a big industry and big opportunity. So Kelly, really just wanted to get you to highlight that because personally, I was a bit curious, but also from an investor standpoint, it's important for people to know, right, where the growth potential is for Loverly. So, okay, understand the industry, your team, the amazing press that you've gotten, some famous people as like Damon John, who's personally invested in your company. What's the business model? How do you make money?
So today, Loverly really focuses on big brand partnerships. So we are a brand that couples love and trust, right? And when you look at the landscape, there's quite a few players in this space, right? You have Wedding Wire and The Knot, which were the two biggest players. And in 2019, I believe, The Knot was a public company. They went private and they merged with Wedding Wire. Now, in the late 90s, magazines, early 2000s, The Knot was the brand. People loved The Knot, right? But over time, as they've grown and, consumers have changed and the brand has kind of evolved, it's maybe not the one that people love and connect with the most. Maybe it's not as relevant, right? You have Zola, which is a direct-to-consumer registry. They have planning tools. They have a whole suite. They have everything that you might need. But I think what makes Loverly stand out is we are a brand that couples love. We have so many women and men, mostly women, who email us, message us on Instagram and say, oh my God, I would love to have a Loverly wedding, to be featured on Loverly, to kind of share my weddings. And so that is a testament to the brand that we've built. And because we're really good at connecting with our consumers, with the generation of couples that is social first, mobile first, we have their attention, we have their voice, we have and we have an opportunity to guide them. And so our business model is to work with brands who are also looking to reach that audience, to either reach that audience, in a more authentic way, to reach them earlier, in a more cost-effective way, And so that's really how we partner with brands. So it's on those large media partnerships, but we always tie it into a deeper integration. And so that's our main business model. Now, this year really was, like I said, a pilot year for Leverly, where we really piloted these larger scale partnerships. Previously, we might work with like 4 or 5 companies per category, right? We might have like, 10 dress designers we work with, 10 stationery companies we work with, and just kind of share, content all day long, sponsored content. And we realized that consumers are getting hip to what is an authentic message, right? If you're just selling me products all day long, you lose that trust. And so what we decided to do strategically was to focus on category exclusivity, especially for these pilots, and go really, really deep with our partners. Moving forward, so our pilot year, a couple of our partners were single year, but moving forward, we're only doing multi-year partnerships so that we can really have a conversation over an 18 to 24 month buying cycle, which is really what it takes now, right? As people are getting married 2 years out. And so that's our business model. It's brand partnerships with deep integrations. We do content production, social media content. And look, when you have the audience of the super engaged consumer, we have the ability to monetize them also through affiliate links and transactions. So we've decided strategically to focus on B2B because there are a number of partners who need our help to connect with the consumers. And so that's where we're focused right now. And as we grow, I think there's tremendous opportunity to monetize the customer directly. We did do a pilot product to try to monetize our users, but what we realized is we're experts in telling stories, building content, and partnering with brands. And so we really wanted to double down on that.
Thanks, Kelly. I know we have a few questions coming in. I'm going to try our best to get to them, but a reoccurring question that's come in is, what are you, Kelly, most excited about between now and the end of the year, and then also as what it looks like to be the most busiest wedding season ever, between now and the end of the year for Leverly, but also let's say Q1 and Q2 of next year for Leverly?
Yeah, so I think what's really exciting right now is the unknown, right? So some people get nervous about the unknown, but this big wedding surge and boom that people are talking about, we've never seen it before. So we don't know how it's going to impact user behavior. And one of the things that we've really focused on at Leverly is building incredible data and analytics to understand our cohorts. How are people behaving when they sign up now compared to their wedding date? How is that buying behavior shifting? And so what I'm most excited about is, naturally, when you're having, a boom in the industry, you're going to have an influx of new couples, new customers, and the ability to really learn from their behavior to improve and iterate on the products. That's one thing that I'm personally very excited about. I'm also very excited about the partnerships that we're working on, that we're going to be launching, that are going to be, as I mentioned, those more larger scale partnerships from a revenue perspective, but also on a multi-year basis, because when you're working with companies for a longer time, you really can build those deeper integrations, which provide a better experience for our customers, but also allow us to truly build, a great user experience, right? And so that's what I'm really, really excited about. I'm also very excited to eventually get married, and using the platform for myself. Like I said, when I emailed all my friends or text all my friends, the guest list manager, and 85 people were filling it out. And then I got in the morning and I saw like, oh my gosh, all these people, put in their details. I'm so excited. It was I was like, oh, wait, what would have been really cool if it gave me a little notification that said you have 16 new entries today. And so, being able to be part of my own planning experience and having these little nuanced kind of, opportunities to even make the product better.
Kelly, that's what I love. The company was founded through what you identified with your sister's wedding. And now you're getting to build it. I mean, it's yours. You found it. You're the CEO, but you're getting to build as you go for your own wedding. So I love that. And I love, again, the impetus on why it was founded. So we had an interesting question come in. Kelly, I know we touched upon it a little bit with, the percentage on the number of customers and followers that you have that are women, but what is your target demographic for kind of you want to get in early and then have the customer be with you through the entire, or be with them through the entire journey and help them. So can you talk about like the age group and kind of that time period?
Yes. So our core audience is primarily women. 24 to 35 is the first segment of our largest. And then our second largest is 36 to 42. So they're essentially couples who are women actively planning their wedding. While there are so many platforms out there, there are a couple platforms out there that are really focused on the premium segment, meaning couples who have 100K plus minimum weddings, $250,000 weddings, right? Like there are a couple brands out there that are offering, fashion or vendor lists that are focused on that specific type of wedding. Really, our customer is the DIY couple, the people who are doing it themselves. Some of them are hiring planners. Like I'm hiring a planner, but I'm also very detail oriented and I want to be very involved in a lot of the decisions along the way. And so, we're not that 100K plus wedding budget market. We're in that $35,000 to $75,000 budget. And look, some of those $75,000 couples, they hire planners, but they're still like, what do I ask my planner? Is my planner doing a good job? Right. And so we're focused on that DIY couple, which is that 70% of couples who are getting married. And, our couples are across the country. We tend to be really focused on the US, but we do have a pretty big following in Australia. I think because trends are really similar, as well as, overall etiquette pretty much lines up over there. So, yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. And another question that just came in. Does Loverly do anything related to venues or venue partnerships?
So on Loverly, we do have a database of venues. Now, these are venues that have been submitted through our Real Wedding. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 12,000 Real Wedding galleries that have been published over the years, and all of those weddings happen somewhere. So we do have a vendor and venue discovery where you can essentially say, this is the type of wedding that I want. Here's the location, and we'll pull them in. We have we have a really, really, really big update coming in the next week or so around location search, because I think that's one of the things that we're not so strong on specifically for venues. So we're launching a big update probably sometime next week. Because that's one of the things that people are looking to filter by in certain regions. They want to get granular. Like you can look in Connecticut, but they want to look specifically in this zip code. So that's one of our big updates. So we do have listings on there. Again, it's all submitted through the editorial content. And we allow vendors to submit and build their own kind of storefronts on the platform.
I think that's so great. And not giving away my wedding venue, but I don't know if you have anyone in the North Shore of Massachusetts, so maybe I can help with that a little bit. And we can go from there. But Kelly, a couple people have asked, because you have such great partnerships and strong presence. You've done so much. You have a lot of options here. So can you talk about, maybe some potential exits for the company, for investors, stuff that has maybe come that you've turned down that you want to disclose, but just exits that could be coming about?
Sure. So there, there's really a lot of opportunity, as you mentioned, Tom, for Loverly. There's really three ways that I look at it. One is acquisition from inside the industry. So I mentioned there are quite a few players in the space that have raised north of hundreds of millions of dollars. And you can do a quick Google search and you can see where the funding has gone. And there's so companies inside the industry who have raised a lot of capital, who potentially have, go public events happening. That's obviously an opportunity. If they want to roll up they want to get a brand, or they want to roll up us for our team. So that, I think that's an opportunity if they see us as a competitor, right? So inside the industry, and there's some synergies there. But outside the wedding industry, I think there's quite a few opportunities. One specifically, when we talk about wedding retail, wedding gifts and registry, right? So and the reason why I say it's outside of the industry, it's retailers whose core business is not weddings, is not wedding registry, but they have a good amount of revenue coming from the category, right? And so for retailers who are either looking to get into the wedding registry category, are in that category or just retail in general, right? They want to sell dresses, whatever it is. Loverly is a great opportunity for them. And I'm sure you can think of a handful of those companies, one of the biggest retailers in the world. Everyone buys everything from. They're one of the top wedding registry players out there right now, but their brand's not so great. It's not a premium experience. And so I think that was really part of our idea in testing out the wedding registry pilot, was to be like, do our customers want wedding registry? And shockingly, a large amount did. So we're like, okay, great. Let's partner and try and drive acquisition. But there's a deeper step. How can we actually build a fully integrated wedding registry product? And so that's in retail. But then on the other side, there's media. At our core, we're a brand, right? We are about content, telling stories. We're connected with one of the most valuable demographics, that is women at a critical life stage. And it's an incredible opportunity to build brand relationship, brand affinity, and a customer for life. So if someone is looking to, own this audience segment, I think Loverly is a great add-on brand for some, media businesses that are focused on women life stages, women audiences in general. And so I think we have a lot of options, but what I can tell you is we are laser focused on providing value for our customers, on building the best product experience possible. And we know that if we drive great value for couples who are planning their weddings, that all of that stuff will work itself out, and we'll have many suitors.
No, absolutely. And Kelly, I was just looking down. So you have almost 700,000 on Loverly's Instagram account. Bling Book over 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, you develop such a brand and a following, and you see some of these larger companies that as you mentioned, they just don't get it with the consistency, and you're constantly on there. Your team is with updating and content, and hopefully Tom Smith's engagement photos and things like that. So I love it. It's amazing what you're doing, because on top of the actual business, you guys are a brand and a presence and a place that people go for all of their wedding needs, which is wonderful. Kelly, we've covered a lot here. And I think coming back to, okay, you've opened up this opportunity at Netcapital. You wanted to democratize the access to Loverly for non-accredited, accredited angels, anyone who wanted to participate, they can do it now. Why is now the time to invest in Loverly?
Well, I think we spoke a lot about it earlier, Tom. The wedding boom is here. There's a massive surge in the market. And I think the industry is exploding. So I think that is a big opportunity. I also think there's a lot of movement in the category, meaning, as I mentioned to you, there was a lot of competition in the space 5-8 years ago. And then what happened was companies merged, some companies shut down, other companies got acquired. And now there's a white space when it comes to kind of a premium brand that actually helps couples plan, right? So you have editorial platforms, you have retail platforms, you have vendor platforms, but we're really focused on guiding couples through the planning process and those planning tools. And so I think what's interesting is that there's going to be movement in the category. You're going to see money coming into the category. You're going to see a lot of changes. And so I always feel like when there is that movement and there's that kind of dynamic going on, that stuff really takes off. So I'm excited about that. I think that's a really probably the second biggest thing, which is why it's an interesting time.
Sure.
The last thing I would say is if you look at historically capital that has come into the wedding industry, right, based on how much volume the industry has, it's actually not that much. The concentration of capital has gone to maybe 3 companies total. And so, maybe I'm saying the bulk of it has come to 3 companies, and then maybe 5-10 companies in the last 10 years. And so I do think there is an opportunity, right, with a brand that's established, that has a loyal following, that has great engagement like Loverly, to really get some extra capital to give us a little bit of rocket fuel to kind of push us forward in some of our initiatives. That being said, as I mentioned to you, Tom, this is more about brand building, democratization, having, an army of investors who are going to weddings, know people getting married, and can be advocates for us. And so that's the biggest thing that, investors, if you're listening here, that we're looking to get out of this as well. Capital is wonderful. We appreciate that. We hope that you invest, but also we want you talking about us. It's important that we continue to build our brand and get out there.
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece to it, Kelly. And I know we're getting to the end of our time here, but your investors can be your biggest evangelists and supporters, right? Because the more they talk about it and people get to know about the brand, the better everyone does. Kelly, this has been such a pleasure. You are such an amazing entrepreneur. We love that Loverly is with yourself, female founders. You built a female executive team. It's female run. Everything about this company we love. And if you're interested in learning more about Loverly, you can go to netcapital.com, search Loverly. Those who are listening now, the investment link is in the chat. Kelly, I know you're extremely busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And we're really excited to see what's next for Loverly.
Tom, thank you so much. And send me those engagement photos, please.
Will do. You're the best, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Take care.